Hey there, cowboy.
And they say chivalry is dead. Well, not today, friends. Curses and madness be upon you all. I am Euclidean Vision, the emotional support, back today with my fifth and final hero concept for the highly anticipated Echo. And this is the one you've all been waiting for, even if you didn't know it. Strap yourselves in for a white knuckle ride, friends, as I present to you Echo Reverb, the Healing Doomfist, who works as a highly mobile and aggressive off-healer, hopefully feeling somewhat reminiscent of Baptiste, Brigitte, and, funnily enough, Doomfist. And so as ever, we're going to start with Echo Reverb's base stats, and luckily their epithet of the Healing Doomfist makes this pretty easy. A hitbox closer to the proportions of Doomfist, so slightly larger than the Echo that we've been using for supports thus far, 250 health, split into 100 health and 150 shields, I think is relatively fair for this build, and the regular movement speed of 5.5 meters per second. Nice and easy so far. Even easier, no passive. I played with the best offense passive, gifting allies in a small area shields per hit done by this build, but ultimately I'd rather it function slightly more like an actual healer. So we're going to smash straight on with Echo Reverb's primary fire, the Flying Fists, or actually as I've called them, the Pealing Echo. Echo launches her floating arms at a distance to strike her enemies, but can also grab onto them to let Echo close the distance. The Flying Fists count as melee strikes, propelling Echo's arms at 30 meters a second over a range of 15 meters, firing once every 0.7 seconds for 45 damage per strike. This has no ammo capacity and so can be used freely. However, Echo can still use her reload button in order to grab onto enemies that she has hit, pulling them towards her as she also dashes in. This must be triggered specifically as you make contact with an enemy, and adds a stun and a pull, just like a Roadhog hook. Although, Echo and the grab target both move quickly to meet in the middle when you use this ability, in the same vein as how Nautilus's Dredge line ability works in League of Legends, so you must be careful where you position yourself when engaging with this move. You could make the argument to allow her to pull on the environment with this technique like Widow Grapple or something like Pathfinder's Grapple from Apex Legends, but she already has a fair bit of personal mobility, so that's likely not needed. And finally, if successful, the grab ability itself goes on a 10-second cooldown, but this could be changed to whenever the reload button is pressed if the ability is too easy to land simultaneously with one of your primary fire strikes. I don't think that should be too easy, but that would have to come down to proper testing to find out. And so as we can't do that, we're going to move on to Reverb Echo's E ability next, Lancet. I've moved us here next, as this is likely the next move you would use in Echo Reverb's most optimal ability combo, or could be used in place of the Flying Fist grab in order to initiate this combo in the first place. Now this is the first healing ability we'll discuss, and as you'll see with these, each of them deals extra amounts of healing based on the amount of damage you do with them, and distributes that healing in a number of different ways. Lancet itself should feel most similar to Seismic Slam, as Echo flips on her side, spinning her wings around her to slam into the ground, and then jarring her wings back to knock enemies away and exude a healing aura around and behind herself. This behaves differently if Echo is either on the ground or airborne, in the same way that Seismic Slam does, and does scaling base damage based on Echo's height, up to a maximum of 100 damage per enemy hit, which I think should be like a maximum of around 3 enemies that will fit in the area of effect. That would be, again, something that needs to be tested as well. But, with that in mind, 50% of the damage dealt by Lancet will then be added into its base healing of 50 healing, up to a potential maximum of theoretically 200 healing if you do manage to hit this properly, applied to any allies in range, Echo herself included. This healing will be applied in a similar manner to Baptiste and Anna's primary healing methods, whereby a large chunk of health is filled over a very short period of time, but it will not be an instant chunk per se. There are several limitations that could be put in place if too many enemies are able to be hit by the ability, or the potential healing becomes too much, such as a healing cap, extra healing splitting as opposed to stacking, the hurt box being shrunk, or some reductions in percentage healing transferred. But for now, I'll stick with these stats as they are, especially as the potential max gain is pretty unreliable, and should hopefully scale with the skill of the user to be reflective of the effort input. But in fact, to kind of build on that point, This ability will have to be carefully used so as to make sure you do actually heal your team and not just yourself due to the shape of the AoE, which extends backwards in a cone from where your wings contact the ground. So you can heal yourself and anyone directly in front of you reliably if you land the ability on an ally, but you must be aware of you and your team's positioning so as to make use of the rest of the cone effectively. And you should also be aware of your enemy's positioning to make the most use out of the scaling healing output. And finally, a further reason for you to be relatively careful when you are using Lancet is its 6-second cooldown, although her other abilities should make up for this healing downtime and its lacking reliability. And so that gives me a nice segue into Echo Reverb's next ability, and the far more reliable central part of her combo, her alt fire, Halo. Echo's wings orbit quickly around her in expanding circles, damaging and knocking back enemies until the channel is completed and Echo's wings surge back in towards her, propelling her upwards and exuding a large area of effect heal. Halo can last anywhere from 0.5 to 2 seconds depending on the length of time you channel the ability for, and can be made to either be toggled on or off, or relative to how long you hold the ability key down. During this time, Echo's wings will spin around her up to 3 times, constantly moving away from her centre of mass, damaging enemies for 40 HP per contact, moving them away a short distance as with like D.Va's boosters, out to a max radius of 10 meters. Once the ability is complete or the channel is cancelled, the wings will dart back to Echo and propel her from 5 to 10 meters upwards, emitting an AoE heal from her centre of mass as she does so. This heal is again augmented by the amount of damage you've dealt, again healing for 50 HP over the second it takes her to ascend at its base form, and adding 50% of all damage done on top of this during that time as well. Halo has a slightly longer cooldown at 8 seconds, but this starts as soon as the upwards leap is triggered, and most importantly you can still use your primary fire while Halo's initial channel is active, so exactly how and when you combo them together will be important in gaining the most efficient use out of this technique. And so that brings us to the final core ability in Reverb Echo's kit, and what I feel is the core sort of ending to the combo, but a move that also has more reliable uses out of combat too. Her shift ability, Whisper. Echo's wings produce a gust in front of her that knock enemies and herself away from each other and leaves behind a temporary healing field. This should feel like a combination between Ash's coach gun and Soldier's biotic field, creating a 4 meter radius field for 4 seconds that heals at base for 20 HP per second, with 50% of the damage done by the cone-shaped gust projectile being added on top as a value per second. The gust deals 40 damage, and so can add theoretically up to 120 healing per second if every single enemy on a team is hit. However, given the AoE of the gust itself, this is likely impossible, I think, as I discussed with Lancet, and so would likely gift a maximum of, I think, 60 extra healing per second, up to a maximum of 80. This move has the greatest knockback of Reverb Echo's base abilities at 10 meters, and it also moves her the same distance, but also has the longest cooldown at 12 seconds, making your decisive use of this move key to its ultimate efficiency. And speaking of ultimate, onto Reverb Echo's final ability, her ultimate, Dragoon Dive. Echo vanishes up into the sky, becoming untargetable, before crashing back down to Earth to knock any enemies away, healing allies instantly in an aura around her for a scaling percentage of their maximum health, up to 100% of their maximum health in the center ring, which even affects recently deceased allies. And any healing gifted over the ally's current HP will also be turned into decaying shield health. I don't even really think I have to go into any huge details on stats with this one. It's Meteor Strike plus res. Sort of. The outer ring scales from 50 to 99% of an ally's maximum health, and the inner ring gifts 100% of an ally's maximum health, either as healing or as shields. Most any alive ally will obviously get extra shields if you give them 100% of their maximum health as healing, but it also can potentially resurrect anyone in that tiny area as well. Any enemies in the AoE are knocked to the edge of the outer ring and will take anywhere from 25 to 50% of their maximum health as damage, 50% only triggering if they are within the center ring. The channel lasts a total of 5 seconds, as with Meteor Strike, including the cast time to launch into the air, and the implementation of how you activate it, etc. will work exactly the same as well. Like I said, it's Meteor Strike plus res, sort of plus sound barrier, kind of. So, as you can see, learning your combos and the positioning your abilities offer is going to be paramount to getting the most out of Echo Reverb, with your ult serving as sort of a more reliable individual option when needed outside of her core sort of combinations. And finally, as ever, a quick story note. This build of Echo I can see being a particularly confident iteration of the character that we've met thus far, taking great pride in her skills and chuckling cutely at the glaring dissonance between her angelic appearance and her rather demonic behaviour. And so, that's it. That was my final Echo hero concept. The highly mobile, ridiculously technical, aggression-reliant Echo Reverb, the Healing Doomfist. I've got a concept for Sojourn in the works, yeah, Sojourn, that has stemmed from the same sort of idea of a Healing Doomfist, but has taken quite a different approach in its final design. So with Overwatch 2 potentially on the horizon, and Sojourn and Echo highly anticipated characters to be seen within, I hope to see you all there, my friends. Check out the rest of my Echo concepts, and let me know which one you think is the best, or if they all suck, or whatever. And hopefully she ends up being better than any of my ideas all told. And so, with that, I've been Euclidean Vision, the emotional support. Please do all the YouTube things, because it's a huge help to a tiny-ass channel like mine, and it would really mean a lot if I can keep doing this for you all. Thanks for staying with me to this point, teammates. Take care of yourselves, and may the glorious light of Best Girl shine within you. Bye-bye.